What's up, everybody? Chad Calek here, and welcome back to the In a Crowded Room podcast for not an episode, but what I believe is a very important message that I would like to share with all of you. As you've noticed, I'm sure over the last week, I have been nowhere to be found. And that's a bit odd because I had recently set the standard that if I was going to be heavy-handed with work, that I would at least um, upload flashback episodes in the meantime. And obviously those have stopped. So I wanted to share what has happened because I think, it could potentially affect all of you. As many of you know from the last episode that we lost Bugsy. And that was obviously gut-wrenching. But my response to it was, I'm not going to let Bugsy's loss be the reason, why we slow down. It's something that's so positive would stop that I didn't want to blame that on him. That just seemed unfair to do to him. And so many of you have gotten to know Bugsy through the podcast of just hearing him and him walking and drinking and snarling and all that stuff. So the goal was to take a couple of days off, obviously, to mourn his loss, but to jump right back into the podcast. And then the night of the 28th, I started feeling not so well. I noticed I had a bit of a fever, and I was like, I just ran down because I that happens often where I just don't sleep like I should, don't drink water like I should, and I'd been traveling a lot, and I had been up many hours, especially back in Omaha, and then flying back to deal with Bugsy's loss. But then the morning of the 29th hit, and like a sledgehammer, I got really sick, really, really sick, and I knew right away, what it was. And it was scary because, I'm vaccinated. So I was like, oh God, what is going on? And as it turns out, I was in fact positive for the Delta variant. And let me tell you guys, the difference between the first round of dealing with COVID versus now, and again, I was vaccinated. Wow, this was much worse, much worse. The body aches were brutal. They lasted up until about 24 to 36 hours ago. They finally relented. The body fevers, the chest fever, that just kept getting hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter until it finally broke. The fever, like I said, finally broke around the same time, about 36 hours ago, 24 hours ago, somewhere in that area. And it was a little different in the sense that I didn't have necessarily the same breathing issues, although I wasn't void of breathing issues. It just wasn't as bad as the first time around. But I could tell you what was way worse was the fever and the chills and the body aches. The body aches were absolutely horrific. This was not fun. I mean, this was for real. Like, I would tell you if it was manageable or not. I told you the first time around, I was actually surprised by how relatively easy, for me, it was to kick COVID the first time around. This has been really hard, and I still don't feel amazing. This literally took me out of the game. I mean, I could not do anything, could barely, talk on the phone, could barely answer emails. It has not been fun. Now, the reason I say this is, look, I believe when it comes to testing, look, everybody, has their own body, and I believe in it's your own choice. So I'm not here to, tell anybody what they do or don't have to do with their body. I'm just putting out information I'm just letting you know what my experience was and currently still is. Again, I don't feel good right now, but I feel dramatically better than I did a few days later. But the first, between the 28th and like the end of the second into like the mid of the third, a good 3.5, 4 days, it was no joke. A very, very serious illness. So obviously, I'm a heavy set white male who smokes, who's 45. So keep that in mind. I know this has made me take a real serious look at smoking, as that's probably not something I need to include in my future. Thankfully, I have lost well over 100 pounds in the last 2 years, because I know obesity is a big one that people struggle with in regard to COVID. And in regard to taking the vaccine or not, I'm not upset that I took it and still got sick. I honestly kind of feel like had I not taken it, this could have been, way worse. Just my opinion, though. Again, I don't judge anybody for making their own choice for their own body. In my opinion, nothing could be more sacred than choosing what you put in your own body. So that should remain the individual's choice. That's just my belief. But I do want you guys to know that this thing is no joke. It really isn't. And I firmly believe that I got it when I was either on the plane back to Omaha, or the first night that I was in Omaha. I was meeting a friend of mine who's going to be co-starring in the House of the Harbinger Kingdom documentary, and we had went to dinner and a bar, and I was shocked coming from LA where everybody wears masks everywhere. In Omaha, Nebraska, you would have thought that there literally was no no coronavirus. I couldn't find a mask in the entire building, in the restaurant or the bar, which was Champs, and I think it was called T. Harney's was the name of the bar. So I was around somebody who had it. I was exposed, and I definitely am paying for it. Having said that, I do feel good enough that I'm recording this right now. So I'm going to begin re-recording episodes starting tomorrow. So the first thing I'm going to have is a big Q&A episode, which I've been wanting to record for a long time. I initially recorded one, but there's been some even better questions that have come in, so I want to add those to it. And I have a bunch of other podcasts that I'm going to do this week as well. So hang tight. Without question, the podcast is going to return tomorrow. Plus, I have some really cool, exciting announcements to make via the podcast as well. So anyways, guys, I love you to death. Thank you all for supporting me. Thank you all for understanding how difficult this has been to not only lose Bugsy, but then to also get this sick. It's not been fun, and it just means a lot that you're all there, just waiting in the wings to support. I'll be back tomorrow with another full podcast episode. All the best.